We are your home theater and AV questions answered. This is AVRant. Want your home theater or AV question answered by Tom and Rob? Send it to question@avrant.com. Welcome to AVRant. I'm Tom Andry, and I'm here with
Rob H.
Jonathan. Jonathan shared a ridiculously long review of the $2,000 Lumin D1 Audiophile network music player, and I want to say I read most of this.
Did you? I skimmed.
I read most of it.
Quickly.
I did.
I found some choice little nuggets in there.
Anyways, apparently that included the willingness. This guy, the reviewer discusses the hassles of using a PC with JRiver Media Center, and his desire to use a plug-and-play network solution instead. So apparently that included a willingness to re-rip his entire CD collection. He said, if I remember correctly in the article, something like 2 months it took him to do it. Because
it was like a 500 CD collection.
It would not recognize WMA.
That's right.
Because they hadn't been able to get the licensing for it because Microsoft wouldn't respond to them.
That's ridiculous.
I'm sorry, that sounds a lot like BS to me. I'm sorry.
Yeah.
You know what? You go to a business and you say, I want to give you money for, so that I can use your stuff. They don't go, no, I don't think so. That's not how it works, dude. So, not really sure why this doesn't work, but that's weird that doesn't work. So he had to re-rip everything into, what did he do? Was it FLAC?
He did into the AIFF and Apple lossless. This thing does support FLAC, but it doesn't support APE, it doesn't support OGG, it doesn't support a whole bunch of things. It does support FLAC, because that's free, and it does support MP3. It does support AAC, but only if it's an M4A container or something like it. Was one specific version of AAC container, which was the only container it would recognize. Yeah.
I don't know. Anyways, the reviewer was also apparently willing to overlook the minor glitch of the D1 frequently failing to recognize the external hard drive, requiring an unplugging and plugging back in a power cycle before the hard drive was detected. I thought he just had to unplug it and plug it back in. He didn't say he had a power cycle, I don't think. But anyways.
Okay, well, you still had to unplug it and plug it back in just to find the hard drive.
Well,
hard drive.
he blames that on, computers. This is not a mature technology.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, sometimes they're not. They're quirky like that, but a dedicated unit like this,
$2,000.
The basic thing it should be able to do is recognize a hard drive. I mean, clearly, that is something that it should be able to do every single time without fail.
I love that early on, he's like, the only reason they managed to get the price this low, all the way down to $2,000, is because they cheaped out on the chassis.
That's right. It's just an Lumin. It's not a CNC, whatever it was.
It's like, yeah, it's just pressed and folded aluminum. It's like, that's the only reason they could get it down to $2,000. It sure looks nice, but it's like, otherwise it would have been a $5,000 player, I guess.
I don't know. All right. Anyways, so this is the some of the things that he said about this were that he felt that upsampling straight 44.1 kilohertz 16-bit CD rips up to 176 kilohertz 24-bit made the music sound more relaxed, open, and airy, and a bunch of other garbage. And so Jonathan asks, can making up bits that were never in the original recording really do anything? And clearly he knows the answer to this. He just wants us to rail on it, which I'm perfectly willing to do. Okay. It's just the silliest thing. It doesn't even make any intuitive sense. It's like I am taking this bit and I'm just repeating it multiple times, but when I play it back to you, it's just like it was the one that we had. But I just make sure I have 15 of them now instead of just the one. It's like,
now, I mean, where upsampling can make sense is if you're going to do a whole bunch of processing to the signal.
Right, but
and
that's
then
not what they're doing.
Refilter it.
No.
Right? Refilter it and then compress it back down. Like, okay, if you're going to perform a whole bunch of math on it, then upsampling it to give you more data points to work with, that can make sense. But that isn't what was being claimed at all. This is just, I took the CD, I upsampled it, and I played it back, and it sounded.
He did say that, that was to his ears, so you may have a different
Oh, sure.
experience. I was like,
Yeah.
yes, I will have an experience where I'm not a crazy person and thinking that things that aren't there are there. Okay. Jonathan says once it was finally up and running, it sounded, this according to a reviewer, fluid, open, and transparent. Although depth cues, I'm not exactly sure what those are. I think it has to do with playing pool from far away or underneath a pool. Did not fully materialize until well into the break-in cycle. Now, of course, first question in your mind is, what's the break-in cycle? How long could that possibly be for a digital device doing digital things constantly digitally the entire way? 400 hours. 400 hours. So well into that. So, I mean, you think about this. This is how, I don't know how they expect these reviews to go. The dude spent like 2 months re-ripping his entire CD collection. I mean, if I was doing the review, one CD. I wouldn't have done one CD. I would have done like 3 songs and been like, shoved them on there and went, I re-ripped him, did it, listened, boom, I'm out. That review's done in a day. That review is done in a day.
Well, I guess he wanted to see if it brought in the proper metadata and all that kind of stuff. So you needed more than one.
I don't care about any of that nonsense
sample.
for this kind of. I mean, this is.
Well, that was his complaint. He's like, every so often J River puts in the wrong metadata. I'm like, yeah, it does, which is why they give you all the manual controls to override that and do it in the 1 out of 1,000 times that it mixes it up. So, okay.
So he says after several months of use. Now think about this. He spent 2 months re-ripping crap, and then now he's having to use it for months. He didn't use the thing to re-rip it, so he could have done the burn-in port, right? What's the burn-in? How do you burn this in? Do you just plug it in? Or do you put
You have to plug it in and play it, I'm sure.
I guess. Anyway, so after several more months of use, it sounded more relaxed. And Jonathan asks, this is all nonsense, right? Yeah, Jonathan. No, it's actually absolutely true. Now, it is complete garbage. It is complete and utter nonsense. I mean, there's no, these aren't brake pads on your car, which sometimes you know what? I would be honest with you. I get so like turned off by the idea that you have to break something in that when anytime somebody says, oh, well, you just put a new engine in your car, so you should do this and do this and do this. I'm like, that's crap. You just drive it. I'm like, I don't really know because of all this burn-in, break-in crap with drivers and CD players and digital transports like we have here. I'm like, the minute somebody says burn it, I'm like, nope, I can't do it. I'm sorry, I'm walking away.
Baseball glove, hockey pads, those break in.
Yeah, they physically change over time.
Not so much a network player.
Not so much. It's still an aluminum case, however cheaply made it may
I just love how, first of all, upsampling it made it sound more relaxed. Then letting it play for 400 hours, that made it sound more relaxed, leading us finally to the last lovely bit.
Which is that Lumin, the company that makes this thing that takes you 2 years before it'll sound right, sells in which case they'll have a new one, sells a $375 S Booster external power supply. Well, one was sent with the review unit, but it was dead on arrival, which
sign of quality right there.
That kind of stuff happens to me all the time in reviews, so I tend not to hold it against the company so much because if one's going to break, it's going to be the review unit for sure. And you know what? That happens. Okay, that happens. But towards the end of the months-long review session, they sent a replacement, which is probably the first one they just fixed it and sent it back because they only need the one because nobody's going to buy this garbage. And that, of course, elevated the performance and stood out, excuse me, in stark relief compared to the regular wall wart. Yet again, the sound was even more relaxed.
Yes. At this point, it's comatose, I would guess.
I think it's asleep.
You can
the sound
only
is
get
now
so
asleep.
relaxed.
The sound should drink less. Have a cup of coffee. The sound needs to perk up.
Why is this the highest praise of what sound can be is relaxed? What does that even mean?
I think the idea is that digital sound is supposed to be so, piercing and digital and stuff like that. So relaxed is the best thing you can say about it because it makes it sound more like vinyl.
Yeah, I did say several times more analog, of course. Sounded more analog. Yeah. $375 for essentially a overpriced, oversized wall wart. Okay.
Those weren't questions. That was just leading us down to
Oh yeah. Of
Audiophile.
course. Jonathan knows what's up.
Want your question answered? Send it to question@avrant.com. This is AVRant.
Now go out and listen to something.